Thank you for joining us today, and super excited that you all made some time and have decided to join us. Well, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and kind of give you an idea of why I do what I do. I Now this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I just discovered that I kind of had some superpowers, and I know you're going to say superpowers. If you're like me, you're a Marvel junkie, and you're thinking of superpowers, leaping tall buildings, flying through the air. I wish I had some of those, but I don't have those. But to kind of give you a clearer picture, back in about 97, my kids were about 1 and 3, and I came to fully realize the financial swirl that my family was in, and to see my husband at the time was a person that if he had $1 in his pocket, he wanted to spend at least two. And it was my job to make it all work. So I bounced debt around like a tennis ball on a court, trying to pay bills, buy groceries, survival habits that actually created my superpowers at the time. And one of the things that we had was, I had 14 different credit cards that I would sit down at the dining room table on normally like a Saturday morning, or when the kids went to bed, and spread everything out and try to figure out how I was going to pay everything. And I would bounce debt from one credit card to another. And I would know that if I went to the grocery store, one of my superpowers was understanding how the financial system worked, as far as if I wrote a check on a Thursday, they were not going to get it this back in the day. They were not going to get that to withdraw from my account until after Friday when the paycheck went in. I developed a really good understanding of how that all worked. Another special power that I had was necessity. I understood where I had to spend money in order to make my money stretch as far as it possibly could. I knew which stores had what products at what prices, and I had 3 stores that I would head to in order to get the most bang for my buck to put food on the table. Those don't sound a lot like superpowers until you're fighting, trying to take care of your family. At that time in my life, I felt discouraged. I felt defeated. I had to deal with a lot of overwhelm and frustration, and I felt at that point in my life like the walls were just constantly pushing in. So I would take walks to clear my head, and I would usually what they call cry it out on those walks, just to kind of deal with all the anguish and frustration I was dealing with, so that my kids didn't see it, because I didn't want them to see mommy upset. And I remember one walk that I was on, and I looked down at the railroad tracks that I was getting ready to step over, and there, between the rail and a rock, was a $20 bill. I looked at that $20 bill and I sobbed, because I desperately needed that week for groceries. I had not had it, and that's what I was, struggling with in my walk. And looking back, it's amazing that amount of money, $20, meant so much to my family of 4. It drove home the fact that $20 could be the savior, and $20 could break me. And as I walked home, I made up my mind that I needed to get things right. I needed to understand finances better, not just survival mode finances, but finances that were going to give me an opportunity to advance my family, advance my dollar. So determined, I dove in and I learned the superpower of saving. And I began saving money with tax-free growth. And we're going to talk about one of those ways today. So we'll talk about that a little later. But the superpower that was most important to me was discernment, because I started understanding there were ways to make money work for me instead of against me. I was not going to stay broken. I was not going to stay down. And so that's where I entered into the financial industry and decided that I was going to meet my goals and help other women and other people with their finances so that they would be empowered, they would have the superpower, and they would be able to rise above and be their best self. And that's why I say be golden, because we need to be golden and be the best us that we can be. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit about who I am and why I do what I do. And let's go ahead and kind of jump into what we're here today for, and understanding what our 401k means and does. Let's see, take just a second here. Technology is great when it wants to work with us and not against us. Here we go, share screen. And all right. And if I can just get a shout out, is everyone seeing the 401k screen right now? If anyone could just put that out there. Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so what is a 401k and what are the lies we've been told? 401ks started with the Revenue Act of 1978 is what started the 401k as we know it. Congress put through, they wanted to have something to include in this section to give employers a tax deferred way to give employees bonuses and stock options. So that's what kind of led to the 401k. And the IRS then in 1981 decided we need to give employees a power to have a salary deduction so that they can actually contribute to their own 401k. By 83, the 401k was offered by most of the larger companies. And the companies love this because what this did for them is it gave them a cheaper way to fund the retirement plans for the employees and a more predictable way than the pensions that had always been in place. And pensions nowadays are one of those things that most companies don't even offer a pension program anymore. It's all 401k. Think of it this way, the pension was funded completely by the company, and now the employees were actually taking on a large responsibility for funding their own retirement. So by 1996, there was actually over $1 trillion and 30 million active participants in the 401k program. So 401k versus pension, are they equal? Not at all, not at all. And why? Well, a pension offered a guaranteed set income for life. So when Joe Worker retired from the company would say, okay, you know what? We appreciate the 30 plus years you gave us. So we want you to be taken care of in retirement. So here's your benefit package, your pension package. And it often include a set income for life, along with often medical coverage for life, sometimes medical coverage for the employee and spouse for life. So that was not something they would have to worry about. Now, with that in mind, I guess, you have to throw in the factors that life expectancy was lower than income was lower and those types of things. But that's what a pension set was. Now, compared to the 401k, which the 401k plan, now it's funded mostly by employees and it can run out. You can actually be in a situation where you outlive your money. That's a scary situation. So how is it promoted to us that a 401k is the best option for us when we are putting our money in place? Well, one of the things is a tax advantage. You show less income for the year, therefore affecting your tax bracket. If you have the money pulled out ahead of taxes, maybe it puts you from a 25% tax bracket to a 20%. So that's a tax bracket benefit. Maybe you have set up with the convenience of the payroll deduction. Most people love this because by nature, if they never see the money, then there's no threat of them spending the money or counting on that money. So they have this convenient payroll deduction. They have, $200 taken out before they even get their paycheck. So they don't have to do anything. So it's just an easy way to save. Third, matching funds by an employer. Now, that sounds huge. And I get calls from clients all the time saying, hey, I'm looking at my 401k and they will contribute up to, that's free money, right? So I should definitely contribute that plus some. Well, let's take a look. Why would an employer match funds? Let's be honest, an employer is not going to be doing things just out of the graciousness of their heart and say, oh, well, we want to do everything that's perfect for the employee, even if it means we take a hit. No, that's not going to happen. So why do they match funds? Well, first, it creates competitive benefit when hiring. They want to look competitive compared to the other employers that are out there. They want to look like they're the ones who care the most and are trying to offer the best package. Next, did you realize that your employer get a tax savings for the company in the form of tax deductions for what they match in your 401k? So if they match up to 5%, they get that tax write-off. They get that tax credit when they get ready to do their own taxes. So that's a benefit for them. That's where it helps them out to get ahead with trying to figure out tax breaks for themselves. Okay. Which again, isn't a bad thing, but just understand the why. Let's take a look at the difference between a tax deferred plan versus a tax-free plan, which that might be a new concept for a lot of you, but it's really important to understand that when you're putting money into your 401k, are you really saving tax? We are not. When we are looking at that, it's simply a delayed tax, not a tax saving. We still have the taxes that are actually going to be compounded. So this is I'm a visual person, so I love kind of breaking this out just so people can kind of make more sense of this, or I hope it makes more sense. When we look at a tax deferred versus a tax free, so that's what these two vials represent, or these buckets, so to say. We are actually going to look at the white part at the top is going to symbolize our gains. Okay. This green part down here is the money that we are contributing to grow our retirement account. So if we look at a tax deferred, this has never been taxed because it's been before tax money. So that's when they have that deduction from your payroll check and it goes into this 401k. So it is 100% taxed as the income is withdrawn versus the tax-free. We paid tax on this money before we put it into the tax-free option. So the money is accessible tax-free if it's done properly. So would you rather pay tax on this amount or would you rather pay tax on this amount? It's kind of the old analogy, and I guess I'm kind of telling right now that I'm from the Midwest originally and had farm fields all the way around me growing up. But would you rather pay tax on the seed, which in this case would be this, or on the harvest? Hands down, you want to pay it on the seed because it's a less amount. So retirement options and taxes. Tax now. Here are some examples of tax now situations: taxed later and tax free. Now, most of the items in the tax now people are pretty familiar with: real estate, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, CDs, money market. Later, this gets a little sketchier. Some people are familiar with all of these and some not. So I'll just kind of run through these really quick. Everyone's familiar with a 401k, an IRA. A SEP is simply just a simplified employee pension. A 403 TSA is just a tax shelter annuity. Those are mostly for public school, and certain charities will use those. A 457 is a public service employee retirement fund. Annuities and pensions. Okay. Tax-free, those are going to be tax-exempt bonds. Those are normally, a good example of those would be like your municipal bonds. A Roth IRA. Remember earlier, I told you my own story that I had started something for myself. I was self-employed and knew that I needed something for retirement. I needed to start planning for something for retirement, but I didn't have the option of a 401k and had no idea at the time what an annuity was, or absolutely zero clue on, what IRAs were. I mean, those were all things those were for people with money. But I had someone tell me about a Roth IRA, and a Roth IRA is after tax money that goes into an IRA and has certain benefits that it's going to grow. And as long as you don't take the money out before 59 and a half, then let me restate that. As long as you wait until 59 and a half before you take money out of it, that money then comes out tax-free. The growth is tax-free. Everything in the money is tax-free. So it's a great option for someone trying to just start something. Now, a Roth IRA sounds great. There are certain limitations to a Roth IRA. So if you make over a certain amount of money each year, you can't contribute to it. I didn't have to worry about that one at that point in my life, just saying that. But it also limits how much money you can put into the Roth IRA each year. You can put $6,000 in annually, or if you're over 50, you could contribute $7,000. They give it a bump up because they figure by the time you're 50, if you haven't been contributing, you need a little bit of a jump. So that's why they give a little bit more money there. A 529. A 529 is a state-sponsored college savings plan, and it's tax-free, but only if you use the money for qualified higher education. So let's say you start a 529 for your little guy or girl, and you decide, I'm gonna do this so when they get ready to go to college, they'll have some money that they can take out tax-free. Sounds like a great plan, and it is, but normally that means that they have to attend a college within that state, and it has to qualify as an institute of higher education by the 529 standards. So if they decide to go to a two-year trade school, it may not qualify. If they choose to go to a specific college or university that's not on the 529 plan, it may not qualify. Or let's say they decide, hey, I'm not really a college person. I would rather not go to college. Maybe they get a job that they find is their dream job. Now that money cannot be taken out tax-free. So just, again, not that it's a bad program, but as long as you understand the good, the bad, and the ugly, then you can make a educated choice on if that's the right step for you. And then there's cash value life insurance. And that's my personal favorite because there are no requirements on age when you move money around. There are no requirements on, as far as like the 59 and a half or RMDs, which are 72. You don't have any of those requirements. They allow for more choice as far as if they decide they want to go to college, it doesn't matter where they want to go. If they want to use the money to start a business, maybe they're an entrepreneur, they can use money for that. There's no limitation that way. And it's growing tax-free. So again, that's why I absolutely love that one, because of the benefits that are there and the flexibility. So now what I'd like to do is I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen, and I want to bring up a different screen for you to take a little bit deeper dive into what we're talking about today, which is the 401k. All right. And I want to share my screen. All right, if you guys could just, someone throw in the Q&A, if you can see the screen, it looks like there's a white side and a blue side that kind of go through. First one is called rate of return working. If you can just throw in the question and answers, if you can see that, that'd be great. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So this is just a very quick demonstration of one of the programs that I use when I'm talking with clients to kind of find out where they're at with their 401k and how it stacks up and where they want it to take them in retirement. So my example that I'm utilizing is a 27-year-old girl, non-tobacco using, and we're putting $200 a month into a 401k and then later into an IUL, but until age 65, and then we're going to turn on an income stream. Okay. So if we look at, this is just a 401k. So we're actually looking at what happens if we throw this money into our 401k and it is growing for us. So you can see that we are contributing $3,000 before tax into this. And I'm just highlighting some of the numbers because I respect everybody's time and don't want to take too long going over this, but I do want you to kind of get an idea. It gives a death benefit right off the bat. We've got a death benefit of $3,000. Okay. Sorry, $2,500. That's the account balance is the 31. So let's see. Let's advance this in age to, I know time flies when we're having fun here, to age 64. By 64, we have contributed $111,000 to this. We have deferred $54,000 in tax, and we've had $100,000 in fees within the 401k. But our death benefit has grown to $218,000. Okay, so that's fantastic. So at age 65, we turn on our income stream. So now our income stream is $672 minus our tax, because remember, this was tax deferred. So now the tax are going to start coming out. We're assuming that you're still at a 20% tax bracket. Okay. So you're actually getting $38,138. So, but let's take a look. Once we turned on the income, our death benefit is now $188,000. So let's come up here and take it to age 71. And I picked 71 because something very dramatic happens. You can see everything turned red, and that's because we have now, this year we only got $20,000. We paid $4,000 in tax. We actually net income $16,000. The expenses and fees have been $120,000, but we have zero death benefit. We've ran out of money. This policy, our 401k, funded $200 a month up until age 65, ran out of money after 6 years. Now, what we want to do is we are going to actually show the IUL. And I want to back this up to give everything a fair shake. Here we're contributing $3,000 because it's before tax. This is our after-tax contribution. So you got your paycheck and you put the money in the bank and you decided to fund your IUL. So after tax, the equivalent is $2,400. We had annual income tax, $600. That equals that $3,000. Fees, $428. So it looks like it's more expensive than the 401k. And our death benefit right off the bat is $78,000 from day one. Okay, let's fast forward to 64. At 64, we've contributed, remember we looked at this, $111,000, we've contributed $88,000. We paid that tax of $600. So our cumulative tax paid has been $22,000. Wow, hold on, that looks a lot more than the 401k. Just wait though. Expenses and fees, we paid $100,000 here. We paid $15,000 here. And those are the fees built into the different policies, the 401k or the life insurance. Account balance, life or death benefit. Here, remember, before we started turning on the income stream was 218,000. Here it's 478,000. Now, understand this number here, the 478, is a tax-free benefit for your benefactor. If you die and you never draw on this policy at all, your beneficiary is going to get $478,000 tax-free. It is not a taxable movement of money. This is a taxable movement of money. This is tax deferred money. So this money, the government has not gotten their share yet. You're going to have to pay, they're going to have to pay 20% tax on this. Okay. Now let's take this to our first payout. We are now 65 years old and we are turning on that income stream. We get $47,000 with our 401k. We get $38,000 with our IUL. But remember, we're still taking out, we have to take out that tax. So we get the 38, we kind of recapped on that or started with that. We're getting 38,000 with the IUL. So we're getting the same amount of money, but we're not paying the tax because it was figured on the first or in the beginning of that. Our cumulative tax paid, we are at 22,200. So we have paid $22,000 with the IUL and only $9,000 with the first year of our 401k. Fees, $106,000 to $16,000. Death benefit, $188,000 to $469,000. Let's take it to 71. We already know that our 401k has ran out at this point. Our IUL still has a death benefit of $415,000. And this is where I normally then will ask my client, how long do you think you'll live? The most common answer is about 90. So we know that the 401k died long ago. I want you to take a look at this. At this point, they have still only paid $22,000 in fees or in tax. That's not growing up anymore. Fees are only 83. They still have a death benefit of $195,000 and their cash value is over $2 million. Well, how can that be so different? Because for all these years, they've been getting $38,000 every year, annually, tax-free to help fund their retirement. So this amount is minus all those years of the $38,000, leaving the death benefit of $195,000. This is why I'm passionate about the IULs, especially for young people who want to get ahead and set up retirement, or people who say, okay, I want to make some adjustments to fund my retirement. All right, so now we're going to jump back in over here. So hold on, Brianna had a question. So it's better to take that 200 and put it into something else as opposed to the 401k. That is a great question. And my view is yes, because instead of deferring tax, we are paying it off now. You know, it's most people think, and Brianna, that is such a brilliant question. Most people think that their taxes or their tax level will go down when they retire. They're going to be in a lower tax bracket. But what they're not thinking about is when you're in your most productive years, when you're making the most money, you also have the most deductions. You have mortgage deduction for owing on your house. Maybe you have children, so you have those tax credits. There are a lot of things that you are capitalizing on that are going to put you at a lower tax bracket. Maybe you're investing money into the 401k. So when we get older, now all of a sudden we don't have all the deductions. We don't have that option to take those deductions, lowering our tax bracket. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to find ourselves in a higher tax bracket. When you look at right now, and it may not seem like it, but we are at an all-time low in taxes. Years ago, there were times in history when our tax around World War II was 90% or higher of tax, the highest bracket. In the 80s, they were at, I think it was at 40%. So yes, paying tax now on the seed instead of the harvest makes a lot of sense. I like, if people want to invest in their 401k, if that doesn't convince them and they're like, yeah, I still want to take advantage of that free money, which is something else we can plug into that illustration when I talk with someone one-on-one, we can actually plug in, okay, my employer matches 5%. We can plug that in. And what you see is it lengthens the time. But in the demonstration that I did for my last client, we put those numbers in there. And instead of dying out at 71, it took them to 73. It lasted 2 years additional having that money. So it really didn't fare better for them, where the other is where your 401k is directly tied to the stock market in most cases. And the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down. So you see your 401k rise and fall with peaks and valleys. You have great potential to earn money, but you have great potential to lose money as well. Where with the IUL, it's an indexed universal life. And it's more like a stair step. When the stock market goes up, you experience some of the gain. When the stock market goes down, it levels and you gain a very, very minimal percent, a guaranteed amount, or zero, depending on the product that you have. When the stock market goes up, you gain. When it goes down, you level off. So instead of having to recover from those valleys, you may gain zero, but you're not ever losing any money. That's why I like to diversify people's portfolios. If they insist on a 401k, great, but set this up to offset it. I mean, you saw with a $200 example for our 27-year-old, how that money gained through the indexing. So great question though. Long-winded answer, sorry. Okay, so understand the details of your 401k plan. When I say that, you get the statements. Take a look at it. Understand, are you directly tied to the stock market, which most are. Some will have a Roth option in them where you can actually set up some money as a Roth IRA. Most will be tied to mutual funds, directly tied to stocks. So understand what your 401k is. Some 401ks are give you the option to move those monies around to higher risk, lower risk. Understand, are we going for higher risk, lower risk? What's my age? What's my risk factor? What can I tolerate? So that you can make those decisions. Others, you just put it in, they take care of it, and you watch it rise or fall. I have, this year, the stock market's been a little less predictable. We've had some valleys, some deep valleys, and I've got clients who are in their late 50s and 60s contacting me scared to death because they've seen their 401ks plummet from losing $60,000 in a matter of a few months. Now, if you're in your 20-somethings or your early 30-somethings, you have time for that to recover. You have time for that to come back and to experience that gain. But as we get older, our risk tolerance, we don't have as much time. We don't have the time to gain that money back. And, especially if you're closer to 60, maybe you're getting ready to retire in 3 years, you may never get that chance to recover that money. What most people don't understand is if you lose 25%, you have to gain 50% back in order to break even. So that's where it gets a little wonky, and we're not going to get into the weeds there, but just understand, know the details of your specific 401k. understand how it works and how you make or lose money. Know who all is profiting from your plan. Uncle Sam wants to be your #1 beneficiary. They want you to invest lots of money into your 401k because they are going to be right there to take their, whatever your tax bracket is, 10%, 20%, 25%. Taxes go up. Maybe the lowest income bracket is 40%. They're going to get their money first. So I always tell people, if you have $100,000 in your 401k, excuse me, and you are at a 20% tax bracket, you really only own $80,000 of that 100,000 because the other 20% goes to the government for your taxes. So know who's profiting from your plan. And remember too, that even the contributions, your employer is also profiting because they're actually able to take tax breaks from the money that you're getting or that they're offering as matching. So, and again, nothing evil with that. It's just understand where it's coming from, how it affects you, and what it is. And understand your retirement options. There's not just one game out there. There's not one ball in the game. It's not all or nothing into a 401k. You have options. You now are empowered over most other people. They don't know about these other options, these tax-free growth options. Even if you just walk away with that little bit of knowledge, you know more than 80% of the people out there. So congrats to you. Any thoughts, any questions on what we went over today from anybody? Anything? I would love to hear your thoughts about what we went over. Don't be shy. Just throw it in the questions, answers. Okay, no questions. Okay, I hope that means that everyone's, right there and doesn't feel lost. I never want anyone to feel lost. That's the most important thing. I tell you what, if anyone feels like they are lost or they need some extra question, clarification, throw a sad face in the question answer so we can maybe recap on something. Otherwise, give me a thumbs up so I know that everyone's right there with me. And while you do that, I am going to go ahead and go to our last slide. Scan this for the free gift. It's just a nice little takeaway to remember, because I knew I threw a lot of information at you, and I just want you to have something to take away and maybe help answer some of those questions later. All right, looks like everyone has a thumbs up, so fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Oh, I'll leave that pulled up. Did everyone get a chance to scan that? That's all I had for today. I hope that what we went over helped. Remember to go out and just make every day golden, because it's going to be a lot nicer to enjoy retirement if we don't have to worry about paying for food and paying for shelter. So plan now, and it won't take as much later than what it would if we wait until later. It's always the game plan. Thanks so much. Have a great day.